Are you experiencing back pain that you can't get rid of? Getting migraines, vertigo, having trouble sleeping, and/or brain fog? Do you feel like your medical doctor doesn't understand your condition? Blair Chiropractic might be the solution you've been looking for. If you've ever been skeptical about this, the two doctors you're about to listen to were even more skeptical than you were when they looked into chiropractic work. But fear not. Get expert guidance from the blonde and the bald, Drs. Beth Bagley and Frederick Schurger. These two doctors have extensive experience beyond the healthcare realm and bringing unique vision and healing to their patients. What do you have when you get a biological analyst and an engineer together? Find out right here on another episode of The Blonde and the Bald. Welcome your hosts, Drs. Bagley and Schurger.
How are you?
I'm good. It was a good day.
That's good.
Chiropractor.
You know, I think I saw about, did I see 25, 30? It was a lot.
I had a kind of calm afternoon. We only start seeing people in the afternoons on Wednesdays.
Same here. Yeah.
But I did wake up with a stiff neck.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, so chiropractors get hurt too.
Yes. Well, and I had the most horrific morning.
Did you?
It was miserable. So I get, my normal morning routine is I wake up, I make my coffee, and then as I'm waiting for my coffee to cool down, I'll sit and peruse the internet. Except the internet wasn't cooperating with me this morning. So I reboot my computer and I reboot my internet, my Wi-Fi, my local Wi-Fi. I reboot the server, or not the server, but the modem for Comcast. And all morning long, the internet worked at 10% of what it can. It felt as bad as dial-up.
Yeah, see, these are like those. So I watched this movie 2 nights ago. I don't recommend it. I won't even say what movie it is, but it was like a horror movie, and it had to do with like the time of like the Pilgrims, the Puritans, that kind of thing. And it was actually really well acted and a great period piece, other than it being horribly scary. But like, we complain about internet.
Oh yeah.
And the stuff that our ancestors went through to get us to where we are just the luckiest group of beings there is, that we have everything like indoor.
We have clean water.
Clean water.
We have refrigeration for our meats. Right. These are the important things.
But one thing that they didn't have was 60-mile-per-hour car accidents.
No, they did not.
Right. So I'm not saying that people back then didn't have spinal problems, but they definitely didn't have the whiplashes that we have today. And multiple. Like, I had a patient this week, last week, but she started care this week, 4 major car accidents or problems that went on in her life. And so she like has been diagnosed with fibromyalgia and just chronic pain, and actually she's excited too. She just got her first adjustment this week, and I haven't talked to her yet to see how she did with it, other than afterwards she said it's the first time she's been able to breathe in 12 years.
Wow.
Which I would say was a pretty good, profound result from one adjustment. But I'm excited to see how she does, and she said that she's excited to share her journey with people, and awesome. I'm hoping that we could get her as maybe in a few weeks or so, get her to come onto the podcast and give us a little bit of what it's like to be a patient and in an upper cervical chiropractic office, because it's been a while since either of us had just discovered this. Right?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And as I was going to go towards my joke about, not having the internet and feeling like I was back on a modem, I mean, that's exactly what happens when your nervous system gets shut down. You're used to everything working, and it's like, well, I could get used to this again. I could suffer. I'll go back to just reading text files opposed to seeing videos and pictures. And but eventually, the body breaks down because the communication from the brain to the body isn't working the way it's supposed to, because that internet superhighway that is our brainstem and spinal cord isn't working the way it's supposed to, which makes life just miserable. So yeah, I'm excited to have some people on as well. I've got a young man who was a Marine and had a really bad accident. Just an MVA. It wasn't like he was in battle or anything like that, but it was a severe accident that has kept him miserable for better part of a decade now. And he's doing great. He gave me this really cool. Let me see if I have it around here. Oh, you're going to love this. So he and I are both into knives, right? He got me this beautiful cutting card. Can you make that out? It's the Greek god Atlas.
Oh, okay. I do see it now. I see.
Yeah, it's sort of, you got to change the light a little bit so you can see Atlas in that mix. But it's,
why would if someone's watching our pod, why would Atlas be anything to them? What would that mean?
Well, I don't know if it would mean anything to them yet. We're just getting into this and talking about how what we work with is the first two bones in the neck, the first bone being called the Atlas, which is the Greek god who held the world on his shoulders. And then the head and the neck pivot around the axis. Yep, there it is. So that's really, that's our focus. And this is what sets us apart from other chiropractors, that we're not doing the same thing that, the vast majority of our colleagues are. And this is why we see some of the really strange cases. In fact, we're recording this on a Wednesday night because your schedule got messed up and I'm running late because one of my cases that have had a whole bunch of problems, they needed to get in late, and we just finished up with them. So if it wasn't for me, I don't know if this woman would be alive today. I mean, that's how bad the husband felt about where his wife was. So it's pretty amazing. It really is.
Yeah. On this episode, did we want to go over my story on how I got Practic, or are we doing that in another episode?
I think we should do that tonight. I think this would be a good time to do it.
I like talking about me.
Yeah, I know. Who doesn't?
Well, so to get into it is...
Let's back up. Before we even get into your chiropractic story, you did not go to school initially for chiropractic.
No.
So what is your bachelor's in?
Bachelor's just in biology.
Right.
So Bachelor of Science in Biology. And I got that thinking I was going to go to medical school. So I actually had a pre-med studies.
Sure.
Minor, whatever it was. And so I like the MCATs, all that stuff, thinking I'm going to medical school. But I spent some time working in an ER as a volunteer on Friday nights at SLU Hospital, that's downtown St. Louis. And I decided I did not want to be a medical doctor from that experience. I highly respect medical doctors, and I probably even respect more the nurses and staff because of the stuff they go through on a daily basis. It was traumatic.
Oh, yeah.
But that didn't scare me so much. It was that I didn't realize that, I don't know, that there's no, in an ER, you have to turn your heart off.
Mm-hmm.
You have to separate, the love and the caring from yourself, because if you put that into it so much, and I know a lot of nurses still do, but if you put too much of that into it, it's going to get sucked out because
sure.
The stuff that they saw on just a nightly basis of train accidents, car accidents, falls, gunshot wounds, stabbings, it was just awful. So, and again, that didn't scare me so much, is that I just knew that I would lose my heart, and I have a big heart. So at that point, I decided not to be a medical doctor, and that was okay. But then I really love science. I love science. So with my degree, I was able to land a job at a biotech company called Monsanto. And
you went to the devil. No.
A lot of chiropractors don't necessarily like Monsanto. St. Louis has a huge Monsanto. Now it's called Bayer, but it was Monsanto back then. And there's a lot of people that work for that company. But what I learned from that job is that I did not like working in a lab. So I worked in the lab as a molecular biologist for a few years. And it was fun sometimes, but a lot of times it was really boring and I wasn't helping anyone. So I was just helping myself and the company. And my heart is to help people, and I want to help people have a better life somehow. And honestly, at that point, I was just a kid trying to find a job. And it was a good job. I made a lot of money, and it was wonderful coming right out of school and making good money. But about 2 years into it, I decided that I maybe wanted to try something else. And I happened to go to an open house at Logan College of Chiropractic's campus. And about 3 weeks later, I had already quit my job and applied for school, got in, and decided to become a chiropractor. Now, I had been under chiropractic care pretty much my whole life. My grandfather was a chiropractor. And my grandfather was a full spine, diversified chiropractor. He went to school with a GI Bill in like right after World War II. And a chiropractor had saved his life when he was a kid. He had rheumatic fever. And I think, doesn't rheumatic fever go to your heart? And
it can. Yeah.
So that he was told by the medical community that make sure this kid gets an education because he'll never be able to do hard labor because it really affected him. Well, his mom back then, who knows if that chiropractor even had a license or whatever. It could have been one of the backdoor chiropractors where you had to have a special knock to get in because they were being persecuted by the states and the
medical boards, yeah, especially. Yeah.
And but he got to see a chiropractor. I don't even know the story of how that happened. I wish he was around to ask him. He would really he'd love to be on our podcast, but
no, absolutely.
But he got chiropractic care, and it just empowered him to be. He was physically stronger than anyone. He was amazing. Obviously strong enough to go to war in World War II. And so when he got out, they had that GI Bill, which gave him the ability to go to chiropractic school. And he went to Missouri Chiropractic College and came out and started a practice down in South City, St. Louis. So as a kid, I would get adjusted by him, usually at his house. And but he never really explained to me. I was just a kid. I was one of the youngest of the grandkids, and my sister and I were the youngest. And so it was pretty much just lay down here, pop, 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 bam, bam, you're good, get up, next. So we never had any discussions about chiropractic, other than I kind of knew what it was because he did it.
Right.
I really didn't know anything about it. And even when I started school, I didn't know anything about chiropractic. So that's kind of scary to say you went to school and you started off not knowing what you were even getting into. And I did not. So I was a couple trimesters into school. And my whole life I had health problems. So starting in like my early teens, I had pretty much headaches every day, and those continued. I had depression, anxiety, irritable bowel syndrome, horrible menstrual cramps. Those kind that would take me out of school 2 or 3 days a month. I would have panic attacks. Those started after like in my teenage years. And the panic attacks, I think they started more. I had a car accident when I was 16, and I think everything just got worse from there.
Sure.
And so I also had insomnia, chronic insomnia since I was a kid. And that was my normal. Like it took me 3 hours to fall asleep. I had no idea how to fall asleep. I would go up to my sister and I'd say, Sarah, how do you fall asleep? And she'd be like, close your eyes and you go to sleep. My body just didn't know how to fall asleep. So I was chronically exhausted. And so when I went to chiropractic school, I started hearing this new way of looking at health. And I thought, well, if chiropractic works, I'm going to stop taking my antidepressant medications. I'm going to stop doing this and that, and I'm going to be great. Well, 2 semesters in, I was about to quit school because everything was worse. And I happened upon a young man named Chris said, hey, you should meet this chiropractor. He does this weird thing called upper cervical And I was like, I know cervical spine, but I never heard the word upper cervical. And he said, we should go meet him. And I said, well, I'll come with you. That's fine. Are you driving? And so we drove down to South County and met this chiropractor named Dr. Adam Tanasi, who is now a very close friend. And he explained upper cervical to me. And I thought he was crazy because I had been adjusted my whole body.
But he is crazy.
He is a little, in a good way.
Yes.
So I had been adjusted my neck, my back, legs, arm, whatever. I'd been popped and cracked my whole life. And honestly, chiropractic had helped a lot. Like back pain got better after I got chiropractic care. Neck pain, headaches got a little bit better, but never really 100%. The big things in my health never changed. It was just always chronic problems. So he explained upper cervical to me, and I thought, well, maybe I'll give this a chance, because honestly, I was about to quit school, and I was a semester away, just saying, I was handling school, but I was like, chiropractic's not working for me,
because this was what, two or three semesters in?
Try two. I found upper cervical. And so I didn't quit school, because about 4 months after starting care with Dr. Tanasi, I got my life back. So over the course of those 4 months, I stopped having headaches, stopped having panic attacks, stopped having back pain, stopped having neck pain. I learned how to sleep, which was amazing for me. So when I would put my head on the pillow, I'd be asleep in 15 minutes. And I didn't even know what that was about. I'd wake up restored from sleep, which is amazing. Menstrual cramps, which I thought was just like part of being a woman. That's not part of being a woman. Like feeling a little icky on your first day. Sorry to gross you out, guys. That's pretty normal. But not being able to get out of bed for 3 days, that's not normal. So all of these things that I claimed as my normal weren't really my normal. My normal is vibrant and full of life and vitality. And at that point, I decided not to quit chiropractic school, thank God, and to devote the rest of my time to learning this upper cervical thing. And I was a little bit of an outcast in school at that point then, because not a lot of chiropractors do this. Certainly not down at the campus, down in St. Louis. Yeah, Logan, that's not a big thing at Logan. But I lived in St. Louis my whole life, and I wasn't about to move because I was already in the middle of school. So I stuck with it, and I went to seminars and met doctors and did what I needed to do to find more upper cervical related studies. But what I hadn't found was the Blair Technique, which was an incredible story in itself. Do we have time for that?
Oh, I think we have plenty of time. We definitely have time for that, because I think technically the first time we met was not at the Blair conference, but rather at the Upper Cervical Evolution that would have been around April of 2007.
I was at the end. I went to the first Upper Cervical Evolution. That was the end of my chiropractic school.
Yeah. So, and I think you were like either 10
or something.
Yeah, somewhere in there. And I had just opened my practice in Springfield that same time. So I remember we ran into each other. We didn't have any time to chat because that entire weekend was a whirlwind. But I think that's the first time we met. And then
that's the Green Valley Ranch.
Correct.
And that's where the Blair conference is going to be next year.
Yes, it is. That's going to be a good conference too. That's just always a good location.
So I don't remember you from that.
I only vaguely remember you because in a crowd, you stand out.
I do. I'm not standing now, but I'm almost 6'2" and pretty tall for a female. I've heard.
Yes.
But that's one of the interesting things about me is you will come up to me and hug me, and people will, and say, "Hi, good to see you." And I'll look at them and I'll be like, "I have no idea who you are." I won't say that out loud. I'm polite. I wish everybody wore name tags all the time. I do know.
Yeah, I just have this and everybody knows who I am now.
So we stand out. We're the blonde and the bald.
Exactly.
Or are we the bald and the blonde? Which way?
No, blonde and the bald.
Blonde first.
Blonde first.
For reasons, obviously.
Yes.
To me. So I was a few years into practice and seeing some amazing results in my office. But I always felt something was missing. The x-ray analysis wasn't that great. I was doing a technique called toggle, or what are some of the other words?
HIO. But it was one of the first upper cervical techniques, which was called toggle recoil, which Dr. B.J. Palmer from Davenport, Iowa, basically called it the HIO, or the hole-in-one technique.
Yeah.
I still don't quite understand what that is, other than the fact that it's the most profound area to adjust in the body to get a person back to where it's supposed to be. But I'm not a golfer, so I don't appreciate that analogy nearly as much.
Yeah. So that technique is fabulous. It's not as precise as I would be, because again, coming from a science background, I like things to be very precise. And now we're talking about people's brain stems, these strangers coming to me and investing their money in their health, trusting me with their health. And so I wanted to be the best doctor I could be. So happened upon the Blair Technique, not even knowing it existed. They were having a conference in St. Louis that year. Again, I'd have to look up what year that was. I don't even know.
I'm curious, because
we'll
it's got to be 10 or 11.
Yeah, I graduated in 2007. I started my practice in 8, so I'm going to guess it was 10 or 11. So
somewhere in there.
So I went to this conference. I was even late coming there because I saw patients on that Friday, and then I left from there and brought my tables because they wanted me to bring a table. And I show up there, and somebody helps me grab the tables out. I don't even remember who I talked to, or that was a whirlwind too. Because then I started learning the Blair Technique at that conference. There's something called the primary, which they don't teach at the conferences anymore, but that's the first part of the Blair Technique if you're a student. So I was listening on how Atlas, that top bone that we were talking about before, how it moves, and realizing that the technique I was using to analyze that bone on people's x-rays was not correct. And my mind went, because when you realize that you have someone's life in your hands and you're adjusting something that could give them back their life, and you're not doing it the way that you 100% know how to do it, it breaks you a little bit. So I was broken coming out of that technique seminar. In a good way, though, because I knew I needed to be better. So from there, I visited Dr. Schurger a few times. He taught the Blair Technique primary at his office in Springfield, Illinois. And that's when my mind also exploded a few times.
It was fun to watch. Let me tell you, it's one of those few joys that I have when I have someone new coming in from either toggle or one of the other upper cervical techniques, or just learning it for the first time. And then they see it. And when we talk about how we're looking at the Atlas from just a slightly different angle, and then people's eyes, just sort of like wide open and explode, and then the head melts and explodes, and it's entertaining as an instructor to see that. And I'm like, we're on to something. And the next step is for them to repeat it, the course multiple times to really get good at this. Yes.
And it's made my practice so much more, the reliability of the adjustment, the way I can look at Atlas and in no uncertain terms, just be for sure this is what's going on.
Sure.
And get people their lives back. And so Dr. Blair up there in the great beyond, man, do I appreciate him and the work he put into figuring this out. And now knowing that with the new technology like the CBCT we talked about last time, that 3D imaging, knowing that everything he said was right. And yeah, we find new things out too, but like the basic things that he said about how Atlas moves, he was right on. And how it misaligns, he was right on. So that was really cool. So I'm just so grateful to be a chiropractor. There are a great many things I could have done with my life, but I do feel like God brought me to this. And if when people are saying, I'm still searching for my my profession or what I want to be when I grow up. I don't have that conversation.
Yeah.
I know what I'm supposed to be. I know why I'm here. And it's an incredible journey. Every day is different. There's a lot of the same. Yeah. The business stuff, none of us chiropractors, I'm sure some of them like it, but that stuff exhausts me. But what empowers me to continue to go on and do all that is to see these amazing changes on people. I love it.
It's great because, we see people who are, certainly senior citizen style folks who come on in and they're like, Doc, I haven't been right in 20 years. And the flip side is it's like, well, you should have been here 20 years ago first. And then the second part is we get them better and they're like, within a couple of months, they're like, I can do all the things I was supposed to do. But what's really exciting is when they've been with you for a couple of years and they're doing things that, their kids and their grandkids are like, how do you keep up with this? I've had 2 80-year-old birthdays this past week. One who had hers, I think, maybe about a week and a half ago. The other one was 84. And she had hers on Saturday, and I got to see both of them this past week. And the 84-year-old, the joke is, it's like, yeah, I'm still doing all this, that, and the other. And I'm like, as long as you're not jumping out of perfectly good airplanes, I think we're doing all right. And personally, I think she's running laps around her her children who are in their 50s and 40s and 50s and 60s. So it's really exciting to see that. And then to see all the generations, because oftentimes we'll start seeing parents bring their little babies in and we just go, boop, and then they're like, and then they poop and they go to sleep. And
what I love about a baby that's kind of not at ease is they're crunched up, right?
Yeah.
Their legs are crunched up and their body, and they're crunched. And you get in there and the adjustment on the baby is just like, that's all. There's no popping or cracking or anything scary. And you see the relaxation, the ease come back. Mm-hmm. Patients will describe that ease coming back, but like to see, like parents are like, whoa, and they just see this amazing unwinding of this child where they can stretch out and just be still. It's amazing.
My favorite, and it's a funny story, because one of the reasons I came to Springfield was because my good friend from undergrad was here. So we kept on visiting and we said, all right, we're going to set up in Springfield. Well, a couple of years after after we set up and we're down here, they had their son. And I've known mom since undergrad as well. So, it's like we were all in school together, but she's a little bit reluctant on chiropractic. And I get that, and I see that a lot. And I'll tell that story next week when we talk about my story into chiropractic. But she was very reluctant. And she's like, yeah, Jim, you can do whatever you want. Sugar will take care of you, but not me and not my baby. Well, my wife was working on her. And one of the things when they had the baby, this young man, little boy, baby, he had the worst colic, up all night, would not go to sleep. They had a driving routine to get him to even calm down. He would not latch, so she wasn't able to breastfeed. She wasn't able to let down. There was all of these problems to get him going. So after about 5 months, and I have seen both of these people after one of our fraternity parties. That's like, you overdid it last night. And the answer was yes. And I've seen them in those states. This was worse. And that's how bad they were, because neither of them were getting any sleep either. And she's finally like, all right, I'll get under care. You get him adjusted too. So that was my only requirement. Mm-hmm. She gets adjusted. She's doing a little bit better. He gets adjusted. This little baby boy, 5-6 months old. And all of a sudden, I'm like, all right, we're going to do pop that. He poops like 6 times that first day. And they're like, where is this coming from? Because he wasn't, it's not that he wasn't, he was sort of constipated, but there was still like a little bit that would come out every day. No, like the entire diaper's full. And then
they're supposed to poop.
Exactly. And then he sleeps, they put him down at 7:00. They're used to him up every couple of hours. They put him down about 7 p.m. And somewhere in the middle of the night, his mom gets up to go check on him. And just to make sure he's not dead, because he hasn't woken up. He hasn't cried. He is sleeping for the first time ever, 12 hours straight through the night.
He is at ease.
He is at ease. Mom was not. Mom was still in that, I got to wake up, time to make the donuts. She was, meeting herself as she was going back to sleep, as she was waking up. It was one of those types of situations. So I still laugh about it. And it's been, I think he's 12 now. So.
Man, time flies.
It really does. It really does. In any case, I think that's a good place to wrap. What do you think? Anything else you wanted to share?
Good. It was fun telling my story. I appreciate everyone who got through it. And if you or anyone has issues going on, it's worth getting checked out.
Yeah.
A Blair chiropractor is going to be in your area. I'm in St. Louis. Dr. Schurger's in the middle of Southern Illinois. And, we're always open for a conversation.
Yeah.
And that's what we're going to be doing in this podcast, is conversations. And we'll bring in some people that have had some amazing results. Maybe we'll bring in some other doctors and hear about their stories. But,
sure.
I'm excited to get more episodes going and hopefully get some people following us. And please do follow us if you get a chance. There's going to be ways to subscribe, and I'm sure it's all clickable around you. So follow us, subscribe, and we'll come. And if you do have any questions or comments, leave those for us, because we would love to answer those. I love it.
Absolutely. All right. Well, I have to go get and finish up an CBCT analysis for a patient that's coming in to get her first adjustment. And she's like, oh, you do migraines? I bet you can help me with that. So
get it.
So,
love it. Great. It was good to talk to you.
Good talking with you. We'll talk soon.
That's all for today's episode of The Blonde and the Bald. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. If you enjoyed today's show with Drs. Bagley and Schurger, remember, don't give up and just live with the pain. Come back next week and get more answers and solutions. Visit our websites at KeystoneChiroSPI.com and PrecisionChiropracticSTL.com for more info, and catch all the episodes of The Blonde and the Bald.